from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Daredevil Gang War #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics, as you can see, tied into the Gang War event going on across the Spider-Man line. So let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this. This book is going to be written by Erica Schultz, with art by Sergio Davila, inks by Sean Parsons, Ceci de la Cruz on colors, letters by Klein Cowles. Another one of these miniseries tied into the Gang War event. Very excited to follow this one, as we will be following Elektra, Daredevil. So in this issue, the heat is on in Hell's Kitchen. Elektra Nashios, former assassin turned Daredevil, has been recruited by the Amazing Spider-Man to stop New York from tearing itself apart, as every mobster and supervillain in town is ready to go to war. And Elektra is the only thing standing in the way of Hell's Kitchen annihilation at the hands of a dangerous new gang, the Heat, whose violent schemes from the pages of Daredevil unfold. So I'm not caught up on the last Daredevil run, so I wonder if that's something that's happened prior to it ending, or if it's something going on in the new pages of the new Daredevil story. So that'll be really interesting. But let's take a look at some of the preview art here as we get to see some of this Gang War event. A lot of fighting, a lot of really cool action sequences, as you would expect from a Daredevil book, especially one that follows Elektra. Yeah, I like it. I like the style. I really like this other page as well. I think it's a really interesting group of superheroes that Spider-Man has kind of recruited to help him out. We know that Spider-Woman has a tie-in miniseries as well. We know that Miles is also tied into all this with his own series. And the new She-Hulk series has also been working to tie everything up here into Gang War. So that's what happens when you have a lot of New York-centric superheroes. Very interested in this. I can't wait to check this out. I haven't started reading Gang War, but I'll definitely be following it along. These issues usually have a checklist in the back, and this one is actually pretty extensive. So we'll definitely follow along in the channel for that. Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Spider-Gwen Smash #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Melissa Flores with art by Enid Balam, Ferris Cifuentes Sujo on colors, letters by Elisabetta D'Amico, and inks by Elisabetta D'Amico, and letters by Clayton Cowles. Really cool cover by David Nakayama. And of course, some more variant covers later on in the video. In this issue, time to face the music. The Mary Janes are off on a 4-city tour as the opening act to one of Earth's 65 biggest rock band. Gwen has promised the band that this big break will be all about the music. No web slinging, just drums. But when a mysterious assassin targets the headliner, Gwen begins to wonder how she got this gig in the first place, featuring new versions of some of your favorite characters. So one cool thing about visiting the Earth 65 universe is that we do, writers have the freedom to keep growing that universe and bring in some more familiar characters in the Earth 65 version of them. So that's very cool. Also, this is giving me like Mrs. Doubtfire, where Gwen has to be in both places. She has to be at the concert and also has to be, of course, saving the world. So really interesting stuff. Let's take a look at some of the preview art here. We do have a few pages to show. And here we can see Gwen and the Mary Janes putting on in the gig. And of course, everything gets interrupted as the villains start to show up. So we'll get to see a little bit of that. And we get to see how the Mary Jane's concert was unfortunately ruined by all these happenings. So really cool stuff. Always down to check out a new Spider-Gwen series. I have only been keeping up with Gwen whenever she visits the main universe. I really haven't been reading things that are outside. I know there was the big Gwen across the multiverse as well, where we saw many different versions of Gwen. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Some great variant covers that you can see at the end of the video as well, as I mentioned. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for Moon Knight number 30. This is the finale of this series that kicked off all the way back in 2021. Let's take a look at their creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Jed MacKay with art by Alessandro Capuccio, Rachel Rosenberg on colors, letters by Corey Petit, and we'll talk about the variant cover situation for this issue as well. So, in this book, the terminal seconds of Moon Knight, Night's End. The Battle of the Mount reaches an explosive conclusion, and all that stands in his way of Black Spectre's scheme of annihilation is Moon Knight. But can Moon Knight triumph against the odds arrayed against him, or will Mount stand as his tombstone? With all the hope of resurrection gone, Moon Knight's life hangs in the balance alongside with the fate of Manhattan. So yeah, this whole series has been about Moon Knight protecting his neighborhood, right? The mission of Moon Knight is to protect his mission that he has set up in New York, and all those that come asking for help. He's faced a lot of things. I'm behind on the series, but over the past few days, I've been catching up. I've probably read like the 12 issues of Moon Knight. I'm all the way up to issue 25 at the moment, as of the recording of this video. So I was preparing to get to this. So hopefully I'll be able to catch up in the next couple of days so I can read this as well. But yeah, a lot of the stuff, Jed MacKay, it's really cool to kind of read it all at once, because a lot of the stuff I just read in the synopsis has been being set up or hinted at over the really multiple issues. So it's been a really cool Moon Knight run. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. We don't have a lot of preview art. I think they're trying to save all the big surprises, but we do see here the Black Spectre. We see Moon Knight, and we see a lot of the people that that are really helping out Moon Knight. So really excited to see how all this plays out. I'm trying not to read too much into this to avoid any spoilers. Now, another cool thing about this book, I think Marvel's really going all in on Moon Knight, because check out all these variant covers. It's an incredible amount of variant covers that are amazing. We have, from Peach Momoko to Greg Capullo to Scotty Young, they are pulling out all the stops when it comes to these covers. So I'm very excited to go to the shop and see what's left from these covers, because I really have been enjoying this run of Moon Knight. I think it's been one of my favorite things that Marvel's put out over the last few years. Jed MacKay, any book that Jed MacKay is in at the moment, I'm super on board with, including like this, his Avengers run, anything he's done in the past. Highly recommend this. So, but yeah, Moon Knight is dying. What's going to happen after that? We know that there's going to be a series called The Vengeance of Moon Knight coming out in the future with the same team, really. So very excited to look into that. We'll definitely be covering it on the channel. So yeah. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview for X-Men Red number 18. This is a new book tied into the Fall of X from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team. This is written by Al Ewing with art by Yediel Sinar, colors by Federico Blee, letters by Ariana Maher. In this book, we have the final battle. Their armies have clashed and torn down a world. Now, finally, the two war leaders meet, Storm versus Genesis, for the fate of the Red Planet. As the planet itself fights alongside them, will Arakko survive? And more in the secret dream of En Sabanor will come true. Yeah, this civil war has been ongoing ever since the events of the Hellfire Gala, so it's been really interesting to follow along. Like I've mentioned before, Al Ewing is just really good at managing these larger groups of characters. There's a lot of chaos and a lot of really big. This is really a big fantasy book that just happens to take place in Marvel Cosmic, which is really interesting. It's a very cool mix that Al Ewing, I think, can handle very well. Now, Marvel's had been really stingy with the preview pages for these issues. A lot of the X-Men line, we don't get a lot of preview pages, and I think it's just because there's so much that could be a spoilery thing that we don't like. Marvel doesn't want to get spoilers out there, especially as the Fall of X kind of finalizes, and we come to the last few days of that. So, but we do have some pages, so let's take a look. Uh, like it was promised, really big battles. Arakko and Kadrak seem to be fighting. So we have Island versus Island, and then we also have Storm finally raging off against the leader of the group. So, yeah, very cool stuff. Storm has been doing so much cool stuff over the past few months and really over the past few years. I think the X Men line really has pushed Storm to the forefront as one of the like just the coolest mutants, really, because she always really has been. But man, oh man, they are really pushing that and well deserved. I love Storm. It's a great character. She always gets great character designs, great showdowns of power, and also just some of the more poignant conversations too with the gang. So really cool stuff. Very excited for this. Really excited to see how all this wraps up. The Fall of X, closing out. What we started all the way back in Hoxpox, or at least leading to the closeout of all that with the upcoming series. So, hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Marvel Zombies Black, White, and Blood #3. This is the new book from Marvel Comics. I'm very excited to talk about this. I'm loving this anthology. It is just so much fun. So let's take a look at the creative team here very quickly. We're gonna get some stories here by Peach Momoko, and then also Matt Grom and Alessandro Vitti, and then lastly by Cheryl Flynn and Lynn Eden. So Cheryl Lynn Eden and Leandro Fernandez. So let's take a look here at some of the stories, and I'll go through what I thought of each one of them. So we have the first story here. This is Juju and the Gift of the Insect Bead. As I mentioned, this one's gonna be. So we have the first story here. As I mentioned, this is Juju and the Gift of the Insect Bead, written and drawn by Peach Momoko, translated by Zach Davidson, and then also with letters by Ariana Maher. Now, this story follows a bit of lore it's been really very well implemented. This is a story from the Demon Days, so some of the characters may look a little bit familiar. Demon Days is the part of the Marvel universe where Peach Momoko has been telling a lot of stories. There's a lot of one shots there, reimaginings of a lot of the Marvel characters, and here we have a bit of a combination and a fusion of like the zombie genre included with some of the mythology that Peach Momoko has woven into her stories. It is very cool. As you can see from the art, very jarring, very like definitely going for the whole zombie vibe, but it's a little bit different, right? These zombies are a little bit different. I think even with the restriction of just using the black, white, and the red, Peach Momoko takes full advantage of that to build out this really jarring narrative. But it's full of like still all the fantasy elements that Peach has woven into the Demon Days mythology, and then including some of the local folklore, probably like just kind of woven in there, and of course with the fantastic art, like it's just really cool stuff. The next story we're going to talk about is a Black Widow Hawkeye story called Already Dead. This is by Matt Grom with art by Alessandro Vitti, colors by Peter Pantesis, and letters by Clayton Cowell. Um, this one is just straight up action. I really enjoyed it. I really like how because of the color structure and the black and white, to me, this one felt very much like Walking Dead vibes. I think that's some of the things that made that comic really cool was just the big use of the black and white. Now, of course, here I think Vidi and Pentesis really managed to enhance that experience via their art and the inclusion of the red coloring. This one's full of action. It has a really cool sequence where Black Widow is just shooting a lot of guns because, of course, in a zombie apocalypse, guns are gonna be ablazing. And yeah, just a really interesting narrative device they use. There's a big surprise for the Black Widow here, and I think it's a really fun way to bring that in. So I quite enjoyed this one as well. Really fun stuff. And then we'll be moving on to the last story, Surprise Mother Strucker. This is by Cheryl Lynn Eaton with art by Leandro Fernandez, Mattia Ayacona on colors, letters by Clint Cowell. This is Sweet Christmas, a Luke Cage story, which is really fun. I like the throwback feel of it. This is like Luke Cage from like the 70s era. We get to see that in the outfit, the disguises, the not disguises, the costumes, like the clothing that people are wearing, and of course, when you include the Von Struckers, I think really funny enough is that in this one, the Von Struckers are the ones that are causing all this kind of nonsense to happen. Right? There's no zombie outbreak or anything, but of course, as these villains try to enhance their own people, things are gonna go wrong, and they kind of create the zombie outbreak themselves. But how does a zombie apocalypse attack a man who has impenetrable skin? So there's definitely a lot of really cool exploration of some of those little things, along with just some really gritty, really dope art. I really appreciated the exaggerate, like really the exaggerated use of the blood really adds a lot to this story. So once again, a book full of three really fun stories. Like I love these little niblets of like no pun intended of zombie stories and zombie lore. I'm a big fan of the Marvel Zombies concept, and I think that a book like this just has so much freedom to let these different creators explore it. Of course, there's some really cool covers at the end of the video. Stay tuned for those. And in this case, we actually get at least one of the covers has, of course, the Peach Momoko is it's very much about the Peach story, but we also have a variant cover that actually has some of the characters that are in the anthology. As I had mentioned before, I think one of my complaints was that the covers that we were seeing, like even the variants, none of them had the characters that were in the book. So I wonder if that was just kind of like an editorial thing where they were trying to shuffle around the stories where I'm sure there's people working on different timelines, so I don't know. But we do have a cover with Luke Cage, Hawkeye, and Black Widow, which we all saw in this issue. So I found that really funny. There's a really cool homage as well to the Pepe Larraz cover from House of X, Powers of 10, and then of course an homage to She-Hulk. So here, take a look at those covers. Very much, very reminiscent of the homage to the original Hulk cover as well, with She-Hulk and Jenna Walters. So, yeah, quite enjoyed this book. I'm really enjoying this anthology. Let me know what was your favorite story from this time around. Let me know what stories you've liked from previous issues. I've been doing these kind of reviews afterwards because I think these books are a lot fun to talk about. So, quite enjoyed them as well. So, as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.